Welcome to Ambassador in Town. We are today very fortunate to have Ambassador Paweł Milewski of Poland. I have many questions to ask you. Welcome to our house,
Thank
Ambassador.
You, Professor. Thank you very much for having me.
Okay, I have several questions to you. In the beginning, I'd like to ask you about your arrival. Actually, you arrived in Tokyo in October 2019, 6 years ago. So I suppose that you were one of the longest-serving European ambassadors in Tokyo. Since Russian invasion to Ukraine in February 2022, what has been the atmosphere of European ambassador in Tokyo regarding with the war? Have you had a frequent opportunity to exchange views with your colleagues, European colleagues here in Tokyo?
Yes, thank you. That's something I will never forget. When Russia invaded Ukraine on the February 22nd, 2022, the other day, the European Union ambassador in Tokyo gathered all of us, 27 ambassadors, and we went together to the Ukrainian embassy to meet with the Ukrainian ambassador and his colleagues to express our solidarity and friendship to a Ukrainian nation invaded by the Russian military forces. That was a sign of a solidarity, but also a very strong cooperation we have had since that time until now with the Ukrainian embassy here in Tokyo. And that was a really very moving time because, as you probably remember, the Russian military forces were progressing very quickly, surrounding Kiev and trying to destroy the entire country. And we were extremely concerned how that war will develop, especially us, Eastern European countries, knowing that, as President Havel once said, Russia doesn't know when it ends and when it starts, which means that imperialistic approach to gaining another territories is part of the mindset of the Russian leadership until now.
Of course, I remember that several occasions you have been organizing lunch and dinner and meeting with other European colleagues because you are very at the center of those meetings. Your character and your experience in Japan, and that's why I think you have been organizing many meetings.
Thank you very much for your kind words, Mr. Professor. That's due to the wonderful team I have working here at the Polish embassy in Meguro. You asked about the cooperation with other European ambassadors. It's been really, really very good. We have initiated many projects together. We have signed joint statements on the Russian invasion in Ukraine. Every year on the 22nd of February, we have gathered together, expressing solidarity and friendship with Ukraine, and of course the high respect to the Ukrainian freedom fighters. Our embassy has initiated a number of projects with many European embassies. Also this year, which is very important in the context of the ongoing Polish presidency into the European Union, we are very much focused on still reminding all of us, but also the Japanese audience, that Russia's invasion into Ukraine 3 years ago has been one of the most brutal and unhuman act of barbarianism, which has not any arguments to be proven, but only it was unprovoked and extremely brutal. And Poland, as a close neighbor to Ukraine, sharing the border with Ukraine of a distance of more than 500 kilometers, which is a distance from Tokyo to Kyoto. So you can just imagine how long the border is between our countries. And we have experienced ourselves the big flow of the Ukrainian refugees into Poland, according to our statistic data, more than 18 million of Ukrainians have passed the border with Poland. In 2022 and 2023, something around 2.53 million of Ukrainians were hosted in Poland, many of them in the Polish houses, individual Poles. And we didn't have to build any of the refugee camps until now for the last 3 years of ongoing war. Now we have approximately 1 million of Ukrainian refugees still living in Poland. Most of them have been women and children, elderly people, who have left their fathers, their grandfathers, their brothers, husbands on the battlefield, still fighting bravely against the Russian aggression.
Yeah, we are very here in Tokyo thankful that you, Ambassador, have been inviting many scholars, officials, of course ministers, to enlighten us, I mean the Japanese people, on the knowledge of Ukraine, because Ukraine has been providing, as you mentioned, huge humanitarian support to Ukrainian people, both in Poland and Ukraine. And also because Poland is very familiar with the two countries, both Russia and Ukraine. Your knowledge about both Russia and Ukraine are huge and deep. That's why we can learn many things from your teaching and your experience. So Poland is a neighbor to both Russia and Ukraine and has long historical relationship with the two countries. Seen from a Polish point of view, how have you seen the war in Ukraine, which is transforming European international politics?
Well, profoundly, I would say. Getting back to 2014, when Russia annexed Crimea, illegally annexed Crimea, the time the erection of many of the European countries, especially Western European countries, was not as strict as it was 3 years ago. Many European countries tried to kind of settle down with Russia, appease Russia in terms of trying to drag her into European economics, politics, security issues, and it all proved wrong. Many of us, Eastern Europeans, including Poland, we have been warning that Russia is a revisionist power, trying to redefine the European architecture, and will not stop either with Georgia or in Crimea or with Baltic states or in Poland or with any other European countries. Russia will be able to invade. And I think that many of us, we were sort of defined as Russophobic, trying to be overestimating the Russians' will of invading territorially other countries. But, well, now there's a time to rethink it, redefine our policy towards Russia, but first of all, reform our defense industry, reform our capabilities of defending ourselves from the Russian imperialism. Russia is a country which spends almost 40% of its economy, of its GDP, into the modernizing of the production of the military capabilities. Well, this is something which is very dangerous to all of us. Poland has declared to spend more than 4% for the GDP for the military expenditure. Last year was 4.1, this year is 4.7, and next year we will spend more than 5%.
I see.
This is much more above the limit of 2% declared by the NATO, and we are the number one in entire Europe and NATO to spend such a big amount of money to modernize our military forces. Poland has provided all of the post-Soviet military equipment to Ukraine, And we have a very strong contribution in helping, logistically, helping Ukraine. More than 95% of the military equipment provided to Ukraine goes through the city of Rzeszów, in the border, not far away from the border with Ukraine. And Poland will keep its role of providing this military equipment to Ukraine as long as it takes, and as long as it's necessary, just to make sure that we will never repeat the experiences from the 20th century. As you probably know very well, Poland has produced a lot of history. We have moved our borders from west to east. We have even disappeared from the Europe's map for more than 123 years. That was, between the 19th and the 20th century. And now Poland is one of the strongest 20 economies on the planet, the 5th strongest in Europe, and is building its military capacity consistently. And we will keep doing that, because we know that as a frontline country, the only country in the European Union and NATO which has borders both with Ukraine and Russia, we feel our responsibility to be in charge of securing the Europe's peace. We have also another neighbor which is also causing many problems with Belarus. And together with Russia, we have more than 600 kilometers of border with Belarus and Russia. And this is an additional responsibility on Poland, that we have to be extremely focused on our eastern neighborhood.
Yes, thank you very much, Ambassador. We fully understand that Poland has been playing a very important role, as you mentioned, as a frontline state, defending and preventing further Russian expansion territorially. And also Poland has provided a significant support to Ukrainian people, as you mentioned, and also hosted millions of Ukrainian people since the start of the war in Ukraine. How do you foresee the end of the war? Of course, it's very difficult to end the war, and it's also very difficult to predict the end of the war. But of course, it's always difficult for Polish people to continue the current support to for forcing such a huge numbers of Ukrainian people. But how difficult will it be to see the end of the war?
Well, it's not gonna take short time. We are all aware of the fact that it's gonna take many years to go. First of all, we have to pay a really big tribute to the Ukrainian freedom fighters. Their determination and will to win over the aggressor is extremely important to all of us. And that guarantees that the war has not taken, as it was said, 3 days, but it has already taken more than 3 years. This is the first thing. Second thing is the continued and permanent support from all of us, like-minded partners, democratic countries, which share the same values of protecting and respecting a rules-based international order. We all have to but continue joining hands together to support Ukraine by providing not only the military equipment, but also supporting Ukraine on the international arenas, especially in the United Nations. A few months ago, my foreign minister, Mr. Sikorski, said at the United Nations in New York that Russia doesn't want only to destroy Ukraine. Russia wants to steal its future. Meaning that what President Putin said, to rebuild, restore the Soviet Union in terms of the expansion of the Russian Federation, meaning that Ukraine should be part of the big Russian Empire, and we cannot agree with that. The first is that Ukraine has the longer history than Russia has. The second is that we cannot We cannot tolerate the violation of the rules-based international order. We have to but continue supporting Ukraine as much as it is possible. And as I said, and I will repeat again, being and standing together and feeling the solidarity with the Ukrainian people, wherever we are, either in Europe or the United States or here in East Asia, it's of the greatest importance to all of us.
Yes, I agree with that. Let me move the topic from Russia to another big power, China. Of course, the EU has been creating a quite both close and complicated relationship with China in the last 10 years or so. While China is an important economic partner to the EU, of course, but the EU has brought many, many difficult problems. As a Polish diplomat who knows both Asia, China, Japan very well, as a leading expert on the region in your country, what is your impression of the transformation of the EU's relationship with China?
That's true. I've been dealing with Asian affairs for the quarter of century, 25 years, and have studied in China for many years, lived there almost 1/5 of my entire life. And I remember that China from the 90s and the European Union policy towards China in 90s, after those extremely dramatic events which happened in China and the sanctions imposed by the European Union at that time. And after those more than 25 years, I see European Union policy towards China as being transformed. This is a process. This is a process which will take some time, but it's being also disillusioned to some extent. China is an important and will be important partner with which EU will have to cooperate. China is an economic competitor EU has to face towards pragmatically and realistically. And China is a systematic rival. We just spoken about Russian invasion in Ukraine, and China is among the countries which is supporting Russian invasion into Ukraine, politically, economically, providing the energy sources also. And I think that this is something which us Europeans have to realize, that China may pose some challenges to the European security, despite the geographical distance. That was July last year, when China has sent its military soldiers to Belarus to conduct the military exercises, just very close to the border between Belarus and Poland. China has conducted many military exercises with the Russian military forces on the Baltic Sea. Does it mean that China is a country which supports the peace and stability in the European continent? Well, I will not answer this question right now, but I think that European Union, especially those countries who have had the closest relationship with China, also in terms of the Chinese investments in those countries, have to go on a very profound kind of a redefinition of the entire policy of the European Union towards China.
Well, thank you very much for your wonderful answer to this difficult question. But we have already talked about two big powers, Russia and China. And we have another big power we need to talk about, of course, the United States, a very difficult country. Since the start of the second Trump administration in the United States has caused many difficulties for both Japan and Europe. And Poland has a long, quite friendly relationship with the United States. Of course, there are many Polish people in the United States as well. Could you describe the general reaction of Polish people on the President Trump and his foreign policy towards Europe? both. I suppose that there must be both positive and negative reaction to the second Trump administration.
Well, you're absolutely right. Poland is probably one of the most friendly countries towards the United States in entire Europe. We have a very rich and important history between our nations. We have a very strong Polish community living in the United States. Just to remind you that Chicago is the second largest Polish city in terms of the demography and the number of Polish people living, after Warsaw, my hometown. This is our strongest ally we have in terms of the political relations, economic relations, and of course security, which we are having very, very strong relationship with. The last elections in the United States and its kind of a reception in Poland was not different from other European countries. There was a big part of the Poles who thought that return of President Trump into the White House is a good thing because his ideological assessment of the world is more conservative. And I think that the last election in Poland proved well that this group is still very, very strong and quite vocal on that. But on the other side, well, there is a group of Poles who think that the new administration may pose some challenges also to the security of Eastern Europe in terms of supporting Ukraine and its fight for freedom and sovereignty. I would say that we will continue to have a very good, very close relationship with the United States. We cannot imagine the absence of the United States in Europe in terms of keeping it as a secure and safe region. But on the other hand, as I said, we have to continue rearming European military capabilities, starting from ourselves, which we are doing very well, and trying to engage other European countries, which are probably sometimes far away from Eastern Europe, which perception of the European security differs from ours, Eastern Europeans, and to try to prove that Europe is a reliable, predictable, and responsible partner to the United States in terms of securing the peace in Europe.
Yeah, I agree. Well, thank you, Ambassador. You answered to many of my difficult questions. The last one is easier to the previous difficult questions. Since your arrival to Japan as Polish ambassador, what do you like most in Japan? And is there anything that attracts you very much in Japan so far?
Well, before coming to Japan in 2019, I haven't lived for a long time. I've been just traveling to Japan for a very short stays, and it was completely different from what I have experienced in the last almost 6 years, as you said. And I think that something which really struck me most and is still kind of amazing to me and my family, my wife and 3 of my sons, is the thing of self-respect, the respect in Japanese culture, Japanese society, respect to the elder people, respect to someone who is a hardworking person, who dedicates his or her life and career, but also something which is also important to the politics and the bilateral relations, in this case with Poland. It's a loyalty and like-minded approach to the values which are absolutely not negotiable. And I think this is something which really made me feel like at home here in Japan, because I think that those are the things which may really put a very strong fundament, not only in the relationship between countries, but also in the relationship between people. The self-respect, the loyalty, and the friendship builds a lot of confidence, and the cooperation too. So I think that when I leave Japan, it will happen sooner or later, I'm sure. I will really keep those memories as absolutely amazing. And as I said, having lived in Asia for so many years and dealt with many, many Asian countries, I think this is something which puts Japan in my heart on the first place.
Well, thank you very much for your very kind words to Japan. And also, we will not forget that you have contributed hugely to the bilateral friendship between Poland and Japan in this very difficult time. And particularly today, you have enlightened us on the importance of Poland, the role of Poland in the current global politics. So for these reasons, I am today very, very thankful for your joining to our ambassador in town. Thank you very much, Ambassador.
Thank you very much, Professor Jose. I really enjoyed the conversation with you, as always. And I really cherish a wonderful friendship with you and with your colleagues from Keio University. Thank you very much for the wonderful cooperation our embassy has had with all of you.
Thank you very much indeed, Ambassador. Thank you.
Thank you.